We are live. Hello, everybody. This is the fourth session of Ubuntu Testing Days, and it's the last one of the year. This time we have here with us Sergio, who's the team lead of Snapcraft. Do you want to say hi, Sergio?
Hi there, and it's not just me, the whole Snapcraft team is here with me actually, so it's a full house.
Yes, we also have Kyle and Joe, who are also members of the Snapcraft team. Say hi, Kyle, Joe.
Hey everyone, like Leo said, I'm an engineer on the Snapcraft team, and well, you probably know me because I've been here for every session so far.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm part-time on the Snapcraft team.
Good. It's good to have you. And you will notice that Snapcraft is dear to our heart because we have spent the whole past year working on it. And this is the last working day for a lot of us too. So we will celebrate. This is a party of a year of work on Snapcraft. So everybody feel free to bring your beers, brews, wines, whatever you want. Maybe we could get sponsors for this show. Could be useful.
Just send us beers.
Why not?
Well, the reason it's so late in the day was for people in the Pacific time to be able to drink as well. This is my last hour of my work day, and also my last hour of work for the year as well. So it's going to be fun to just have a beer and relax and talk about Snapcraft.
Yes, as usual, in the Ubuntu On Air box, you can send your questions through the IRC chat. If you want to ask something to Sergio or the rest of the team about Snapcraft, just prepend your question with the word question, all in capital letters, and we will go through the questions as they appear. Now, Sergio wants to do an introduction of Snapcraft for us. Can you start?
Yes, my introduction will be in the form of discourse. There's not going to be a presentation or anything around it. I just wanted to give a brief description of what Snapcraft is and what it does. And in a nutshell, what Snapcraft does is create snaps. And why do you want to create snaps? Well, to work in this new ecosystem that's being created that is, in theory, fully confined. Well, not in theory, it is fully confined, unless you don't want it to. There are ways around that, but you own that decision. And a world where you own your dependencies and the final product you create. For that, we create snaps. So to create snaps and to make that world easier, we created Snapcraft. And Snapcraft basically works on a couple of concepts. Basically, parts are the things that end up being in the snap. Those parts are essentially pieces of code introduced into the snap. We have plugins that actually drag those pieces of code and give it have the generic plugins that have logic that can basically know how to construct those kinds of sources. Snapcraft is kind of fully declarative. There are locations where it's not, and I'll show you around why and where we have those. And another way to build custom sources is using local plugins. With that, if no one knows where Snapcraft really lives in, let me just start a screen share here. I'm going to just share individual windows and hop between those so the resolution doesn't become a problem for people. So now that I shared my window, I can't really find it. So Snapcraft is on GitHub. This is where Snapcraft is. The code base is made out of Python. There's a small workflow here that gives you an introduction on how the basic Snapcraft life cycle is, and just a some boilerplate messages for people who are not really introduced to Snapcraft. And if you want to really enjoy Snapcraft and play with it yourself, there's snapcraft.io, which basically describes a bunch of the solutions where snaps are supported, and a long guide on how to create snaps for yourself. So given that there are 2 ways to obtain Snapcraft today, a third one is coming. Those 2 ways are either, well, have Ubuntu, Xenial, Yakety, or Zesty, and install Snapcraft. The other way to get it is to git clone that source I just showed and have it enabled there for you. So this is what I have now on my system. Hope it's big enough.
It is.
Make it smaller, I think.
Yeah, looks good.
So right now I'm in a LXD container. This is where I do most of my Snapcraft work to not contaminate my system. I have a bunch of all my development tools in here, and in Snapcraft I have this is a clone of the Snapcraft sources, and so if you want to get started, there's a hacking document which you can also read online, which describes what you need to get done to get Snapcraft. So basically, on Ubuntu, it's just install these, and then just run this. Or this is what I run at least. So that's what I have. I do a list here. I just have all those dependencies from those requirements stuck there. With that, you can. This is a testing broadcast as well. There, I will fail if I don't say that you can basically run tests and run all the tests that we have. Just run the unit test, just run the integration test, or the demo test, which I forgot what the name was for those.
Snaps, I think. Yeah.
That's snaps. You can tell that we rarely run those snaps tests. There are other ways. This is fully Python. The tests are fully Python enabled, so you can just do Python M. Python 3-M unit test and just do Snapcraft tests. Oops.
Just missing a T there.
Somewhat, right? Here. But that's basically how it's executed. There's if you install Snapcraft from the Ubuntu package, it'll be in your path, and you can just use it. If you clone Snapcraft from master, you'll be using the latest and greatest. And there's 2 ways to use the latest and greatest. Just add back to your path. So the current path where it's checked out in bin. Inside bin, there's a Snapcraft. Bin, there's a Snapcraft, which basically gets run. So if you have Snapcraft installed, make sure this takes precedence.
Yeah, that takes care of the include path mangling and all that stuff.
Yeah, so Python path is taken care of for you, and a bunch of assets that we load dynamically during the execution is also taken care of. Here. Or you can just do an alias of Snapcraft. This is what I prefer to do. So it's more obvious to me. So with that, Snapcraft has a couple of nice things. There's the parts. Parts are something you create or something you parts are something you create or something you can share or consume. It's kind of like consuming a build dependency in some scenarios. For that, Leo, should I just continue giving a Snapcraft introduction, or do you want to teach people how to enable propose and with another way to enable snapcraft, get the latest bits.
Yes, I would like to show proposed first before you continue. So
Sure.
we show how to test the most recent snapcraft. Uh, let me share my screen. Okay, can you see it all right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me deselect Sergio. Because everybody was just looking at you. Okay, showing again. And here, I will start a virtual machine just like the one we prepared in previous sessions. If you are new to these shows, the recordings of the previous sessions are available, and there are blog posts explaining everything that we are doing here. So right now, I would like to show you how to test a snapcraft update in a stable release. So we have Signal that was released on April, and we're still working on snapcraft in there. So every new feature that we land on snapcraft, we land it also on Signal, but the process to land new features into an already released version of Ubuntu requires some additional steps. So this is called a stable release update. We have a new version of snapcraft, want to get it into Signal, and it needs a lot of testing before that's possible. And I think this is a great way for you to help the development of snapcraft. So I'm going to show you how to enable the SRU updates for snapcraft in your virtual machine. The first thing you will have to do is to open the Ubuntu Software Center. The menu on the top will lead you to Software and Updates. This will open. This is where you can select where your packages come from. We want to go to Developer Options and enable here Pre-released Updates, Signal Proposed. So you have to be a little careful here because you will get unreleased packages of everything that's landing on Signal, not only snapcraft. So I usually don't do this on my real machine. You can do it. It's a little risky. It's a little risky, but not too bad.
Are you gonna walk through pinning or just leave it at that?
No, I will just give some links about pinning. There are some ways to only update one package. That's the pinning that Kyle mentioned, but I'm not going to show it here. We can look at that later, and there's a good link in the wiki that can let you do that. So once I selected this check, and if I close and update my sources, I will immediately get the things that land on the proposed archive of Ubuntu. But before that, what I want to test also is the update process. So for example, the latest release version of snapcraft in Signal is 2.23. We want to check that when we update to 2.24, that's about to be released and proposed, everything still works. So what I'm doing here is to install the 3 packages that are part of the snapcraft dep. It will take some time while it downloads everything, but not much. Snapcraft is small. And you will see in a few minutes that what we are getting is snapcraft 2.23. That means the one that's stable on Signal. if I do snapcraft -b, you will see that 223. Now let's go back to the sources. I hit close, and it will suggest me to update my sources. This is the step where I will switch to use sources from updates. So sure, reload. This is doing exactly the same as sudo apt update. And that's it. So right now, once snapcraft 224 lands in proposed, if I do the same, if I call sudo apt install snapcraft parser, snapcraft examples, I will get 224. We made the release like, I don't know, 15 minutes ago, so I don't think the update is already here. Let me check. Yeah, I will have to wait, I don't know, 30 minutes or so for the new versions to arrive in my archives. But once that happens, you run this command and you will get an update. If everything comes all right, you will just be in snapcraft 224 and you will be able to help us testing the new release we want to make. But if you have any problems on the update, if something weird happens, please let us know. We will look and fix it before it reaches everybody in Xenial. That's the idea of the proposed testing. And that's it. I'm going to stop sharing and go back to Sergio.
Okay, and I'm just going to start sharing again.
Yes, thank you.
So just to show what Leo was talking about, this is the snapcraft map of the release status of each snapcraft push we have made. So you can see that we released Xenial with 2.8.4, Yakety with 2.19, and Zesty is, well, in development. It has 2.23 in universe, so in the stable archive, the released pocket of the archive, but we already have 2.24 in proposed, Zesty proposed. So if you're on Zesty and enable proposed, you will get to see it. And I guess that's the way to pin it. So everything will be deprioritized for proposed there. And if
I did
really
paste a link into the wiki about that, by the way.
Oh.
Or I'm sorry, I pasted a link to the wiki into the channel about that.
Okay, great, sounds good. But if you do it like this, you have to basically apt install snapcraft, the Xenial proposed pocket for it to actually be installed. I'm on Xenial here, so I won't do anything. And I don't want that practice yet on my main system. So that said, I created a temporary directory here, which has nothing. And to get started with snapcraft, if you want to follow a tour, that's fine. That's one way. This is just from doing it from scratch. Snapcraft has this init command, which makes it really easy to get started with snapcraft.yaml. That snapcraft.yaml has very, very boilerplate messages here. Text that helps you around what each key is. And I can actually really play with this and do very fillers here. So I have a single, this is a summary description. Grade is an interesting key. Grade allows you to cater for your snap in some sense, because when you're in development and you're just doing publishing to Edge or Beta, and you're not really taking care of stability that much, you probably want to have great devel there to not accidentally publish your snap to all the users in existence. That snap, of course. Confinement is what I said about choosing. Confinement strict basically says that the snap is fully confined, and dev mode says that the snap also needs to be past dev mode to actually be installed, and that means that the snap is free to do whatever it wants on the system. So you should only use that when you trust the owner of the snap or trust the sources of where it came from, and not just randomly do it here and there. And for this reason, dev mode snaps are not really allowed on stable and candidate channels that we have. And I've omitted to say what this stable candidate and data and edge channels are, but I'll get back to that in a bit. Don't worry. Then we have parts, which I was talking about. A snap is made out of parts. Each part can have a friendly name, like this one, my part here, and you can have a part be driven by a plugin at all times. So in this case, plugin nil is basically a plugin that does nothing. And there's a bunch more plugins. So let's see what else Snapcraft has to offer here. So I can do Snapcraft plugins, and it will show me all the plugins I have available. Each plugin has help.
Sorry, can you hit Control L so the things that you are typing go to the top? Because they are being blocked by the places here on the bottom.
Okay. So Snapcraft, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so we saw the plugins. So you know what your sources are. So let's say you want to build something in Go. So you say Snapcraft help Go, and you'll get some help for Go here. So it basically tells you about Go. It tells you about like keywords that part can take. And let's look at another one. Let's say you just have a make file in your project. So you can just, it tells you basically what it does. And it also tells you that it works with sources. Right now, the documentation is a bit out of date because everything works with sources. So we'll have to fix that. Contributions open. If you are a good writer, you're welcome for that. So Snapcraft help sources gives you a detail of all the sources and how we can manage sources. Sources are interesting because, well, that's where we get the parts from. So we handle a bunch of different scenarios and types. This is a list of types. So it's standard Git, well, Bazaar because, well, Ubuntu and Launchpad, Bazaar. Mercurial for those using Mercurial. Subversion for those still on Subversion. Well, tar is tarballs and all formats for tarball. Deb is basically a Debian package, so you can basically unpack a Debian package as a source and just dump that as your snap. So you don't even need to build with Snapcraft. You can just create a snap and consume it from pre-built parts. RPM, same story as that. We support RPM as well. And zip. There are a bunch of other keywords basically related to VCSs in general. And so I may rely on other parts, and I can write my parts by myself. But there's another interesting thing we have here where I can just do Snapcraft update, and it will update a parts list. What is this parts list? Well, it's a bunch of parts that people already wrote and decided to share with other people because they thought it would be a welcome contribution. So in this case, I can search for a keyword and it will find something here. It will give me a part name and a description of what it is. And I don't need to, so a way to use this part would be to go into my snapcraft.yaml and say here, after curl. This is a basically useless example because the nil plugin does nothing. There's no reason it would need to build that to curl. Just for demonstration purposes, that's how you would use it. Another way you would use it, just get back to it, is to so I just use curl without even knowing what it does, what that part is. Ideally, you want to see what that part looks like. So you run snapcraft define curl. You'll see who the maintainer is, and you'll see the description, and basically this is a part. So this is a part that uses the AutoTools plugin we have. AutoTools, so you can give it specific keywords there. Sorry, parameters, you can give it configure flags that would be passed on to the source in the build step on this configure. And then there's this keyword called snap, which basically is a filtering mechanism to not introduce everything into the final snap. Of course, the source, as I mentioned, the source management, and just for the sake of it, Snapcraft can detect this is a tarball. We say it's a source type tar. So if I want to use this curl part, but I don't really want it this way, I can just go in here and say curl, and you know what? Those that filter for snap doesn't look like I wanted. So let's just say add everything, and period. I don't care about it. I just want a full-blown snap with everything. So then you can override. So the key here is that curl is defined and doesn't mention state of plugin. So Snapcraft uses that as a mechanism to say, I'll look for all these parts that people have shared with me as implicit dependencies, and I will override whatever is there from the default part I consume from. I'm hand waving here. Sorry, I notice you can't see it. So, that's how these shared parts work. So once we have an actual snap, let me just delete this. Once we have a part we're fine with, we can just do Snapcraft full here. And since we have nothing, this will take basically no time at all, and it will have a full part. With this, Snapcraft creates an internal representation of how it believes these resources should be managed, separated by parts. Every part is independent. So in parts, we'll have all the parts we have by part name. So my part is the part I had. And in there, we'll have source, build, install directory. And yes, I'm giving them in the order of the life cycle more than the order you see them on the screen. And a state, which basically represents the state of the part within the life cycle of Snapcraft. So these will basically, given the no plugin, these will be empty, but we can just go through the life cycle, say build, and we can just say stage, and stuff will be staged. And then I'll give a big, nicer example in a bit. Just wanted to get through a couple of things. So prime, once we do prime, an interesting thing happens with Snapcraft. We get this meta directory here. This meta directory is basically what represents a snap. Most of the keys that were passed through the passed in the Snapcraft.yaml get transferred here. So we have confinement, we have description, we have grade, name, summary, and version. Architecture is basically forced because Snapcraft does native. That makes the package native by default. In our case, in my case, I want to actually say it's architectures all. So then once I run Snapcraft snap, which is the final stage of the life cycle, see that I have an all snap here. So I built my snap, right? So share list. So I can do Snapcraft register. So I can talk to the store. First, I can see until my registered snaps here. These are registered snaps. As you can see, I have a bunch of rather dummy test snaps, and I have some that are private. So those private snaps, I'm the only person who can see them, and they're just for me. So if I wanted to create, I don't know, my self-hosted web server and deploy it as a private snap and just update it from one machine and have a Snappy enabled system update it from any other system, this is I guess what I would do. Then I have things that basically are non-distributable. I guess for other people, I can consume them, experiment. And and then I have just random names. I guess the published snap I have here is this and this, this is the RC system I've been using. So what if I want to get this new snap here into the store? It's just a matter of just saying snapcraft register snap name, and I get that snap register. But I'm playing around here, so maybe I want to do something, since this is a testing session as well, testing days session. In the snapcraft sources, I'm back at the snapcraft sources, we have a tools directory. The tools directory has a staging and enablement. So I can just do, I can source that with the dot in there in front, or just type source, and I'll have the staging server. If I go back to the directory I was in, and this is not directory dependent, but if I run list registered again, to a different list of registered snaps to my user. As you can see, some are the same, like the Telegram one, but all the other ones are basically different. So now let me just do a register again for that snap.
The awesome data bzz looks really useful.
Sorry, what?
The awesome data bzz looks really useful.
Yeah. There are experiments, you know. Let me register Bridgerton Snap again. This time I'll have it registered here on the integration server store. So now that I have my snapcraft registered there, I can basically just say snapcraft push, and I can just push my snap. I purposely chose a snap that was empty, so this could be fast, and not waste time waiting for a progress bar to move. A couple of interesting things coming down regarding that is delta uploads. So once we have delta uploads, only the first snap would take time to push, and the next one will basically reuse the one you pre-built before or pushed before. So now the store is telling me I have revision 1 of Surgeon. I'm just going to say snapcraft release Surgeon snap revision 1 to stable. Oh, I can't. You know why? Because I enabled it in, I made it dev mode, so there, I cannot do that. And also I have grade devel, so that's interesting. So I can just put it on beta, for example. It should work. So there we go. So here we can see that we opened the beta channel on the store, and I'll just satisfy Leo. We opened the beta channel. It says it's now open, and you can see that.
This might be the time to actually talk about those.
Exactly. So here is the store channel map we have. So as I mentioned, the store has 4 channels. There are fixed channels: stable, candidate, beta, edge. In edge, people are expected to just push regular builds, daily builds, whatever builds. Beta, when you're just trying to lock down on a feature branch, whatever, depending on how you develop, right? And candidate and stable are meant to be like the stable channels. And the state. So here's the thing. If anyone looks for this snap I just published here, I just released onto the beta channel, you won't be able to find it, even if you enable the staging server stores. And the reason is that snap find only looks at the stable channels. So that's a good way to ensure people that do not know that this is in development snap don't get it by mistake. So people that are in the know, that read a blog post, like you have README or something, will know how to get it, but someone that's browsing the software center and just randomly seeing the snap won't actually get it. So, does anyone want to add stuff here?
Well, I think it's important to draw a parallel between the way channels work here and with the proposed that we just talked about, where if you're for example using snapcraft out of proposed, then you're going to be always a little bit ahead of stable and might get some unstable bits. And enabling proposed, unless you're pinning, like we kind of talked about earlier, you get new versions or newer, potentially unstable versions of every package in the proposed archive. Whereas with channels, they're per snap. If you want to follow the less stable version of a specific snap, you can enable that just for that one, and all the rest can still be unstable. So that's kind of where this is some pretty cool stuff.
Here I have a question from somebody called Joe Talbot. He asks if list registered is going to be in 224.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Awesome. Thanks for the sneak
Which one?
preview.
It's going to be full of sneak previews if I have enough time. So here's an interesting thing. I released to beta. So what happens with Edge? What does this caret symbol here mean? It basically means that Edge is now tracking data. So if I tell Snappy to track my snap on Edge, it will follow beta because I've released nothing to Edge, and it's a cascading mechanism basically. So I could have also released to Edge here and have now Edge is not following beta, and the Edge channel is now open. So now I can push version 0.2 or revision 0.2 of whatever I have into beta or Edge, and they wouldn't be following each other. If I wanted Edge to eventually follow beta again, I do snapcraft close Edge. What's that?
You need the snap name too.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. And eventually we'll be closed. There we go. So now we have Edge following the beta channel again. And there's one more command here which is interesting, which is status and history. So let me deactivate this integration server and say snapcraft status program citizens. In the future, I might forget what my status is on the channel map. So here I can see it. And as you can see, everything just goes to stable and is following the stable channel. And I also do just like a history here and look at the full history of the snap and where it was published and how everything I did with that snap. So that's all the basics of store integration. There's more, and you're welcome to experiment there. Find bugs, I guess, Leo, that's the objective, right?
It is, yes. That's why we are using the latest unreleased snapcraft in here.
Great. So now, let's say I want to snap Vim. Vim is a more useful tool. So I'm just going to do snapcraft vim snapcraft.yaml and show you what I have. So the snap name is Vim, the version 8, the biggest description, grade develop, and here I'm introducing Confinement Classic. So Confinement Classic does a nice special thing. Confinement Classic, I could have built it with strict, and it would have been just fine. Leave Classic there for now, and I'll surprise you later. So I just tell it source, and here's the source subtier entry, which just tells Yeah, grab the source from here, but use the subdirectory to actually use as your working directory. The plugin make, and we use this build package. So if I run the snapcraft here, the package, it's pulling. It's actually running configure. And while that runs, I'm going to switch screens to
The classic you're showing is not released either, right?
no. I'm showing all of unreleased stuff for people to play with.
Right.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, that should be in proposed really anytime.
That will need also an unreleased snapd. So that's.
Oh, right. Yes, that's what I'm going to mention right now. So on this virtual machine, it is a virtual machine because I'm using an unreleased snapd, and I'm using an unreleased snap-confine and don't want to run my system. I did a bunch of things right now to make this work on the plumbing side. So that will all work once the latest snapd and snap-confine hit the archives, the regular archives. And so here I have the Vim8 snap that I would have copied over to the VM from that environment I was creating. I cannot test that. So let me also mention that I cannot test this Vim8 snap on that environment I was building on because it's a LXD environment. And while there is now LXD support for running snaps in Yakety and Zesty, it's not yet available for Xenial. So I have to live with run it in a virtual machine right now or on my main system. So if I want to install this, I do snap install Vim8 snap. That will fail. Let me just show you why. So first, because it cannot find a signature, since it doesn't come from this.
Can you make it bigger, please?
Like that?
Yes, thank you.
Since I can't run this from the store. So I didn't push this to the store. There's no assertion assigned to it. There's no signature assigned to it saying that this is actually coming from a trusted publisher. It has not been verified by the store. The store runs a bunch of checks to see if it's not safe or comes from a trusted source or something like that. None of that happened here. So I have to say it's dangerous. In my case, it's not really dangerous because I made it and I know who I am. So I'll do this and it will say, but classic confinement also requires consent. Because classic confinement basically says, snap can do anything. That's what it says basically. It can go over your system and look at anything. So I'll enable classic. And so I have Vim installed. So this Vim I have, and snap in Vim, I do not have Vim. I do have Vim installed. Tiny is shown as VI, though, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, so I don't have them installed. Vim Tiny. Yeah, it's not even there. So Vim is not here. So I can run Vim, and I'll be running. This is the proof of it, actually. I'm running Vim8 on Xenial. How? The only other way to do that is to create a PPA and push Vim8, step over, or make it write to a different location, which basically we're doing this now. But this is a much controlled way and sweeter way, because if I remove this Vim8, it'll remove everything all the assets that ever installed to actually be there.
Yeah, it's still 7 in Xenial. 7.4.
Yeah, Vim 8 was a major release. So this is the bare bones Vim, and this is like classic confinement. So I can go and edit etc and give me something that etc had. Sources list. There we go. This is from the VM. I'm not running the sudo, so I won't be able to modify this. But one nice thing is I can actually show you that I can edit and yes, write stuff in there.
And that's, I mean, to be clear, the reason that's cool is because under strict confinement, such things would be off limits to a snap. That's what the classic gives you, as Sergio mentioned.
Because it's your classic environment for the snap. So one more tiny feature to show people, which is really, really cool, and for a snapcraft person. So I grabbed this project Anatine, which is a Twitter application. And this Twitter application has an interesting thing in it, where is it? All right. The package station. So this is a Node.js application, which basically is an Electron application. And it uses run commands to release a package. But look at this run command. If the build Linux run command just runs Electron packager, and it adds all these parameters to Electron packager and creates a zip file in .anatime Linux. In the snapcraft world, that basically results in parts Anatime build, because that's where builds take place, and what was the name of it? This. We have this zip file here, but nowhere is a rule to make install exploiting equivalent in this. And so there are two options here. You can patch upstream to add a run command, a run script for in package station, and have that logic there. Or you can create a custom plugin and wrap around that logic. Or you can do what I did here, which is, aside from the first couple lines, which is, you can consider it boilerplate snapcraft for the sake of this discussion. Back to that apps. And in here, we give it the source, the plugin Node.js. Here we're using, again, this is a part someone shared for me. It's called desktop.gdk2, and it makes sure desktop GDK2 stuff is all enabled in my snap. Build packages is a primitive for snapcraft. It just says I need GCC and zip. H packages are things I want inside the snap. So all these packages here will land inside the snaps with their dependencies traversed. And this is a Node.js plugin specific entry where it says npm run this build Linux thing we just saw. And this is the new thing in snapcraft. Here I can just add this install scriptlet, which is basically a script which says, if this directory exists, then set dir to this and copy everything in that directory here in snapcraft part install, which is a variable we export. So with that, I already had this run because this takes a while. With that in install, I get Anatime.
That x64 directory, is that Arch specific? I mean, was that generated by the build?
That was generated by the Electron packager. I have no control over that. That's why I did the thing. That's all basic shell script. So if you know shell script, you can just override that. So I have the Anatime snap here, and I installed it on my desktop. with the things I showed, there's no way to actually launch this because I actually failed to show what makes commands accessible from within the snap, and it's these apps entries. These apps entries declare that I want an anatime top-level command. An anatime command. Since the package name and the app name match, that means that it will be a top-level command. If I did anatimes, I would have to access the command by saying anatime.anatimes. This is the command that I want to run to launch anatime. This desktop launch is provided by the desktop part I'm consuming. And I have all these plugs, which is basically what allows my snap to be confined. There are a bunch of plugs available, interfaces available. And these plugs are basically accessing specific interfaces. Sorry, I will get chatter and get distracted. And this basically makes the snap work. So in this sense, I have other screen share to go to, which is just my desktop.
Do you have it installed? I thought you were going to show it.
I already have it installed, yes. So this is my real desktop computer. That's why you're seeing everything. Let me just make this big enough so you don't see anything. There you go. So I can do snap list. I'm a big snap consumer, as you can see. And I have anatime installed. And if I do which anatime, you'll see it's there. I can run it, and it will take a bit, but it will eventually just load. There's my Twitter feed. Just there.
Cool. So why did you use GTK2 instead of GTK3?
Oh, in the sense of sharing, I actually grabbed someone else's anatime snapcraft branch and had that there, and I decided to improve it and contribute back these modifications I made to make it actually faster. But GTK2 was there. Oh, that I wanted to say and I forgot. But the reason GTK2 is there is because Electron uses GTK2 in the backend, so it needs a lot of GTK2 stuff like font config and.
So that's probably why I failed every time to snap something Electron. That's good to know.
The Electron ones are tricky because they spawn a bunch of threads, and some GDK libraries called GDK or glib commands, which sig abort, but the library just keeps on waiting for the syscall to return or something, or the exec return, and nothing happens. So there's a bunch of dead threads there, and so to actually, I did the Visual Studio Code, which you saw in the background there, or the snap as well. That's a bit more complicated, and it required a lot of slicing and GDB, which we can have another session for if it's interesting enough. And since of almost reaching the hour, I think I'll stop talking and let you talk.
Great, thank you, Sergio. So before we finish, I would like to talk a little more about the SRU. So Sergio showed a lot of features that will come on 2.24. The idea on the SRU is that we get as many people as possible just trying to break it, doing crazy stuff. The best way to test the snapcraft is to actually make a snap. So if you have a project you like, take a look, try to package it as a snap. If at some point you have a question or you hit a roadblock, we are in rocket.ubuntu.com, and we will be there to answer your questions. Well, actually, this is the last work day for Sergio, Joe, and myself. So you will be just with Kyle next week, but he will be happy to answer all the questions from all the people and fix all the bugs that appear next week.
That's right, ask lots of questions.
I am prepared.
So if you want to get started, prepare your virtual machine, enable proposed, and then let me share again my screen to show you the page here. In Launchpad, we have a bug for the 2.24 release. This is the SRU process that we need to follow. In there, there's a comment that mentions some of the tests that could guide you trying the new stuff. This is like what ensures that the new things that we landed in this version are not going to break anything and are going to actually work as we planned. And you will see in there that they are vague. That's on purpose because we already tested the individual bugs and we already automated the things that will prevent regressions from them. And I have already manually run all the specific things that were wrong or that we landed. So in general, this release is already tested, but there are many corner cases that we might have missed. There are many possible issues that we didn't find during the release. So with this test, you can just get a vague guide of what we would like you to try. So for example, we made a change in the Rust plugin. If you know of a cool Rust application, you can go in there, try to snap the Rust application using 2.24 from proposed, and let us know how it goes. If it breaks, please let us know. And we will delay the release and make the fix and propose again. And in the end, there's always an exploratory section. Just run as many commands you can, try to break it hard, try to do crazy things, try to do unexpected things. In here, what we added big in this release are 3 new keywords that are prepare, build, and install. So it would be great if some of you just go out there and try to make snaps with these keywords and let us know what's the result. And coming back. Yeah. So during these past sessions, during these past 4 testing day sessions, I think we have showed all the basics to start contributing to free software communities, in particular Snapcraft and Ubuntu. So from now on, I will start sending calls for testing. Once we have a new Snapcraft release, I will ask everybody to give it a try before we make the actual release on Signal. And we will be in there to help you doing the testing. In case you have questions with Snapcraft itself, just again, join rocket.ubuntu.com. And we are just hitting the hour. So I think it's time to say goodbye and happy holidays for everybody. Thanks a lot, Sergio.
Pleasure to have me. Well, I'm grateful that you have me.
All right, it's good to see you guys. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yep, thanks. Merry Christmas.